love the channel and find it useful in becoming a happy retiree. Subscribe today. So whatever's on your mind, and it has to do with a lot of calls today about Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ripple, cryptocurrencies. It's in the vernacular. Feels a lot like 1998, where I don't know what's exactly going to happen to these currencies. Some of what I've been thinking lately is that it feels so much like the tech bubble. You've got no barriers to entry. You can create a currency out of thin air, and if people think it has some value, it has value. Kind of like what happened in the late 90s, where you had an idea for a technology company, you get funding almost out of thin air, set up shop, put a ping pong table in your loft, and have a company. And, you know, that works. And it worked for a little bit of time, but it can't last forever. It can last for a year, can last for 2 years, can last for 3 years. But ultimately, you've got to create value. You've got to create real money. You've got to create profit. You've got to create earnings. And what I tend to think is going to happen with all of these currencies like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ripple, you name it, there are opportunities for programmers to create new currencies literally algorithmically out of thin air. Might take them a weekend, maybe a long weekend, but all of a sudden there's another new currency. So there's no barriers to entry here. Any smart guy or girl that can do algorithms and can program can create a currency. And all of a sudden, now what happens when we have 20 and 30 and 50 and 100 new currencies? Now let's start to think about the evolution of this. Is that now all of a sudden you've got all these currencies and they all have a slightly different take, and this one's a little better because of this, and I like this one because of that. Kind of like the late 90s when, hey, that seemed like a good idea. Webvan seemed like a good idea. Ultimately, it was a great idea. In fact, it's happening today in a very different form. But yeah, people want stuff delivered to them. By the way, remember Shipped? We talked a lot about Shipped, Alabama-based startup company that delivers your Publix groceries. And I talked about it because it was an answer to, hey, Amazon's got delivery. They bought Whole Foods. Why are all the grocery stores cratering? Because, hey, wait a minute, aren't there other companies that can do the same thing? And the answer is yes. And guess what? Guess who just got bought this week? A little company called Shipped. We talked about it this summer. How much did they get bought for? $550 million. That's over $500 million because there's value there. Target bought them. So my point here is that what I'm seeing with cryptocurrencies is, yeah, the technology is legitimate. It's a great new way to process money. Blockchain technology. It's very, it's here to stay. It's a revolutionary technology. Will some of the currencies that use blockchain technology survive? Sure, I think they will. I don't know that they're I don't like them as an investment because they're just so erratic. Will a few of them survive? Probably. Will we see a lot of carnage at some point with all the copycats and fly-by-nights that come in, just like what happened in 1997 and 8 and 99? I think that same thing will happen. You're going to see a correction in the overall industry. Let's call it the whole marketplace, just like we saw in 1999, really March of 2000. Cratering of prices. You know, the NASDAQ was down 85% as a whole. Many companies went down 100% because they went out of business. Good companies like Cisco, their stock price got crushed, but the companies survived. So the legitimate players within that industry, they had a rough decade, but they ultimately survived. And that same pattern could play out. So I don't think that cryptocurrencies are going to go away. I do think they're here to stay. Are there going to be 30 or 40 winners? Probably not. One or two, maybe so. Hi, I'm Wes Moss, and thanks for taking a minute to hear about what's so different about my new book, You Can Retire Sooner Than You Think. So unlike other retirement books, this book will give you a step-by-step guide, whether you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s, to learn from what these successful and happy retirees did to get there.
I hope you enjoy the book, but more importantly, I know that it'll help you retire sooner than you think.